and welcome to the Not Only Carrots cooking show. As you probably know from the other cooking shows, I am the author of a brand new cookbook, but this is actually a bonus recipe. I love store-bought salsa, but the other day I noticed how easy the ingredients looked and I thought, I'm sure I could make this. So I kind of reverse engineered, try to figure it out myself. So today's recipe is actually salsa, and let's give it a go. Okay, first things first, we need to sterilize our jars, and also the heating helps it to heat seal better once we add our salsa and lids afterwards. Fill them to full. I've already added 1 kettle's worth of boiling water to these ones, and fill up the sides as well. Make sure you use a heat-proof bowl or baking dish so you don't create a big mess if it cracks. Every now and then one of the jars will break. I actually reuse jars. As you can see, I have a couple of old salsa jars, and this one I think was a tomato paste jar and an olive jar. So you can reuse as long as they're clean, obviously, but yes, every now and then one will crack, and just chuck it out and try a new one. We'll put our jars aside now while we make our salsa, and by that stage they'll be lovely and hot and ready to be filled up. For this recipe, you'll need a medium to large saucepan, or you can use an electric fry pan like I'll be using today. We'll be adding in 2 large onions diced. You can decide on the size of the chunks. For me, I like them not too big, otherwise it's too chunky to pick up with a corn chip. And also 2 large capsicums, these are. You can use red or green capsicums. I just chose green because they were on special. And 1 tablespoon of rice bran oil or vegetable oil, just a neutral flavour. You want your heat to be medium-high. We are sautéing together these vegetables until they are nice and soft. Once we add the rest of the ingredients, the onion and capsicum won't cook much. So however crunchy you like your salsa will determine how long you cook them for. If you're finding it takes a little while for your onion and capsicum to soften, you can put the lid on as well. Before we do that though, I'm going to add in a teaspoon of garlic, chopped garlic. If you have fresh, you can do that as well. Stir that through. Okay. I'm going to utilise some of that steam, so I'm going to put the lid on for mine. And it should take roughly 5 minutes or so. Remember, we're not browning those veggies, simply softening them. So keep an eye on it. If they start to brown, just turn your temperature down a little bit. 2 interesting things for you to note while these are still sautéing. One is you can use crushed tomatoes, diced tomatoes, or whole peeled tomatoes for your salsa. If you do use the whole peeled tomatoes, you'll probably want to cut them up a little bit so that they're not too chunky. But the other tomatoes, you can use a combination or just all one type. For instance, today I'll be using diced tomatoes, but I have made it before with a bit of crushed and a bit of diced, and it adds a really rich flavour having the crushed tomatoes. This makes a lot of salsa as well. The reason I like to make food in bulk is that it saves a lot of time. Obviously, I'm a busy mum, and so I don't really have a lot of time to be making salsa every time I want to have haystacks or nachos. So this is just something that I like to do in one go. And as I mentioned before, when they're heat sealed and they're in the cupboard, they're always there ready to go whenever I need them. Okay, if you can see me through the steam, these are looking good now. I'm happy with that. I like to have the capsicum a little tiny bit crunchy, not too soft, so I'm going to leave it where it is now. My onion is lovely and clear, so we're good to go with the next ingredients. I'm going to now add in some spices and salt. So we have 3 teaspoons of salt, 3 teaspoons of cumin powder, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and 2 teaspoons of rapadura, which is the evaporated cane juice. Now, just so that you're aware, the cayenne pepper is optional, and cayenne is an alternative to chili powder. So even though it's only 1/4 teaspoon, it's still a strong spice, so don't think I need to add more. But this is also a mild recipe, so if you do like the medium or hot or silly, super duper hot Indian salsas, or Mexican salsas rather, you would want to add more. I have made this recipe with the chili powder and it's still a really nice flavour, but I do prefer cayenne, so that's why I've stuck with that for this particular one. But feel free to play around with that. Once again, we're bursting our spices, so when you smell that they're very fragrant, like now, we will then add in our tomatoes. As I mentioned before, crushed, diced, or whole peeled, but sliced up a little bit. Oh, tipping it on myself. So it's 4 tins, that works out at 1,600 grams. If you do dice your own tomatoes and put them in, you're very welcome to do that, but your salsa will take longer to thicken because they'll be more watery. So just keep that in mind. You'll just have to cook it for longer to reduce the salsa. Stir it through. And we have 2 other ingredients remaining. One is 1/4 cup of tomato paste. Oh, that spoon was a bit big. I better go clean that off. I'm back with a clean spoon. Okay, we'll continue. Stir in the tomato paste evenly. You don't want to have one bit that's just tomato paste. That adds a rich flavour and helps our entire salsa to thicken a little more as well. And we'll also add, for a bit of zing-zang, a bit of vinegar, 2 tablespoons of vinegar. Now, a little note about vinegar. You can replace it with lemon juice if you wish, but it will have a lemony flavour, obviously. Oh, I just put a little bit more. Just meant to be 2 tablespoons. I think that was 2 and a bit. Vinegar, back in the old days, we're talking in the 1800s, vinegar was actually alcoholic. And there were recommendations back then that we shouldn't use vinegar because it was bad for your body, obviously, as alcohol is a bad toxin for our bodies and our livers. But the vinegar today is available from Woolworths and Coles, and if it were actually alcoholic, they certainly wouldn't be selling you 2 litres worth on the shelf. It is just differently distilled nowadays. So keep that in mind. If you choose not to have vinegar, once again, you can use the lemon juice, but that's why I still choose to use vinegar in the salsa. It has a different flavour to lemon juice, and I just find it works so, so nicely in the salsa. You could also have a play around with some different types of vinegar if you're particularly into balsamic and so on, but I like the plain old white vinegar. It just has a nice flavour and really brings out the other flavours. So that is our salsa recipe. I'm going to leave this now on a medium to medium low simmer just to reduce it. You don't want it to be super, super thick. Well, maybe you do, but I don't like it super, super thick. I like it to be able to be poured over the top of haystacks or nachos or tacos and so on. So I'll reduce it a little bit, and once it's at a good thickness, consistency, I will then add it into those hot jars over there. So we'll come back and do that in a minute once it's nice and thick. Side note, if you're trying to reduce something, don't put the lid on it. The lid will capture all the steam and then the water falls back again into the meal. So just leave the lid off during this evaporation process. Okay guys, that's about as much reduction as I'm going to do. So you can see it's sort of wet, but yeah, still wet enough to splash my shirt. That's what I'm after. So I'm happy with that. So what I'll do now is I'm going to turn my heat off. So take your saucepan off the stove at this stage. Now, keep in mind you poured boiling hot water into those jars, so it's going to be hot for your hands. So don't do what I've done before and just grab the jar. Bad idea. I'm going to get a tea towel and we'll now add it to our jar. As you can see, it's a very dainty. Hot. Okay, so you can use a smaller spoon, like a tablespoon and so on, to scoop it in. But I thought I'd just choose the easiest one possible to show you. So use your tea towel with one hand just to hold that so that you don't burn your hand. So hold your hot jar in your left hand and just scoop in with your right. Now, in order to get things to heat seal, whether it's jam or salsa or tomatoes or whatever you're canning, you actually have to fill it up to the brim. It actually has to be almost overflowing. So can you see how it's right up the top there? So I'm now going to get my lid, make sure I get the one that matches. That's the one. And put that on as tightly as I can. It gets on your tea towel, so don't be too worried. Wipe down the sides. And voila! Look what we have here, a very not Italian dressing. It is salsa. We have a nice salsa. So there you go. That's how I do my very own salsa in the cupboard. No one would even know the difference. Voila, look at that. So I'm going to now do the rest of my jars. It possibly will fill more jars than this. I'm thinking possibly another 2 jars on top of that. But as you can see, it makes heaps. So I hope that you have a lot of fun making this recipe. As I mentioned before, haystacks, which are corn chips, salad, salsa, some beans, and your salsa. Did I say salsa already? A bit of veganese or some of my soy mayonnaise or raw cashew mayonnaise on top of that, and some guacamole. That's a haystack. Nachos are self-explanatory. You use bio cheese instead of your regular cheese, or you can use the melty cheese from the lasagna recipe that we've also done as well. This salsa is just so versatile. You can even just dip it in with corn chips or veggie sticks. It's yummy, and it's, I don't know. I don't know, we just like it. We just grab it out of the cupboard quite often and enjoy it. So I hope you enjoy it. As you can see, it's really low fat as well, and it will keep in the cupboard if your lid has heat sealed. Once you've put the salsa into the jars and put the lids on top, it'll take a little while for the heat seal to be created. They need to cool down in order for that to happen. Once you have confirmed that they have definitely heat sealed, you just simply push the middle of your lid and see how that one's still moving. That hasn't heat sealed yet. So any of your jars that have heat sealed can go into the cupboard and will keep in the cupboard for quite a long time. Otherwise, keep them in the fridge if they don't heat seal. Occasionally, they just won't. Anyhow, I hope you had a great time today. I know I did. I want you to leave me a comment below. Make sure you like the video, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye.